I'm Swapna Kakani, 29. I am a professional speaker and healthcare advocate for individuals with rare diseases, intestinal failure, for the purpose of promoting healthcare delivery and the patient experience. I was born with short bowel syndrome with the etiology of ileal atresia, which is a birth defect of the small intestine, and I was not born with all of my small intestine, and what remained was anatomically and physiologically inadequate. From birth, at day 2, I had my first abdominal surgery where I also became dependent on TPN through a central line and enteral nutrition through a gastrostomy tube, and have been dependent on enteral nutrition for 16 hours a day, every day for 20 years, and TPN anywhere from 3 nights a week to 7 nights a week, partial calories, full calories, for 26 years and counting. I still receive some TPN as well as IV fluids. I first found out about OLI pretty late in my journey with short bowel syndrome. I found out about OLI in 2015, and I was born with short bowel syndrome in 1989. And then I went to my first OLI conference in 2016. I've been attending all the OLI conferences since 2016. The first conference I attended, it was the first time I got to see other young adult females who also wear backpacks, but not only wear backpacks, they are pushing their boundaries. They push their energy limits to socialize, to advocate. I got to hear Betty Marie, who is a star in the advocacy community for the OLI Foundation, talk about advocacy in the IV nutrition space. And she had to leave the session to go hook up. And it really, I could really relate to that. And then every morning I got to see other young adult females maybe coming down a little later because they had to maybe rest a little longer or get their IV infusion for a little longer or go back to their room in the middle of the day to eat in their whatever that their normal is for eating, or to rest. And I could completely relate to that. Coming to the OLI Foundation conference, something that not all families realize is that they have access to exhibitors. And these exhibitors, every annual conference has a session for exhibitors. And exhibitors include industry professionals, home infusion companies, pharmaceutical companies, the suppliers who make our IV bags, TSA, and you can talk to the individuals who work at these organizations one-on-one and talk to them about your experiences, and they can share what they offer consumers. And you would not have that kind of access in really anywhere else. And without coming to the OLI conference, I would not have known how many other home infusion companies are in the space, and that I am not limited to my home infusion company. That's huge. And what do other home infusion companies offer their consumers to make their lives easier? What do other consumers do when they travel? What are the tips and tricks of the trade? That is a huge plus of the OLI conference that I'm really grateful. They take the time and effort to make these partnerships with industry professionals that consumers regularly would not be able to have access to. I continue to be a member of OLI and come to the conferences because in addition to seeing other individuals with similar experiences living on HPEN, there's also excellence in the clinical presentations. And the little tidbit, I've done this for so long, I do know a lot of the clinical aspects of it, but the little tidbits that come out of the presentations that you can't necessarily get when you Google or you research or you talk to your own individual doctor. Those tidbits can be really powerful. And in the advocacy work I do and in the keynotes I give, the information I learn at these in these sessions at these conferences, I relay in my talks. So the information I use from the Ole Foundation is the publications, the newsletter, regional conferences, as well as troubleshooting documents and advocacy documents like Save My Line. I would recommend the Ole Foundation to others because it has been an organization in our community for a while and has a breadth of information as well as a network that's valuable. And for many who live on HPN or enteral nutrition, you can really feel isolated, and sometimes you don't have access to a network. And so the Ole Foundation is a great starting point to launch off, to get those connections, to get the information you didn't even realize you needed, and then to be connected to clinicians, excellent clinicians across the U.S. What I like about the Ole Foundation is that it is an opportunity, an avenue for families to be informed of all their options. The Ole Foundation is set apart from other support groups because of their structure as a nonprofit with employees who dedicate their time every week to the organization, a website, regional conferences, annual conferences, a clinical network that vets all their publications. That kind of structure is not necessarily seen across all support organizations, as well as just support groups that you may see as a spin-off in a city, at a hospital, or on a social media site. Coping advice for others, for me, is to own your new normal. So I heard in a talk, and I always say this, is that the speaker said in the talk that normal is just a drier setting. And it's true. Everyone has their own normal. Everyone has their own routine. And when you make that decision to own your disease and to own your routine and what we heard today, accept it, but not be defeated by it. Let it be part of you. Don't let it define you. I think you'll see a major change and attitude shift in how you deal with and cope with the lines and tubes that are attached to us. And that's been huge in my ability to continue to live life, not survive.